Welcome everyone. Thank you for attending this webinar. Indeed, the attendees are a lot more than I expected actually, the number of attendees. So thank you for your interest and thank you for attending this webinar. I'm really excited about this. I'm really thrilled. Couple announcements before we start. So this session will be in English most of the time. I know there are a lot of Koreans who loves to hear Korean, but there are a couple non-Korean speaking people is in this room, so we don't have an option. I think we better use in English most of the time. And we're gonna have a Q&A session after the webinar, so you can ask your question in Korean, then I will answer. 많은 분들이 한국말을 더 좋아하실 수도 있지만 여기 이제 한국 언어를 사용하지 못하시는 분들이 계셔서 일단 영어로 진행을 하고 Q&A 세션에 되면 그때 이제 한국말로 또 질문하고 또 답변하는 그런 시간을 갖도록 하겠습니다. 뭐 양해를 좀 폴스하는 것 같아서 죄송하지만 양해를 부탁드립니다. Alright, then without further ado, let's roll it all. Alright. So again, thank you for attending this 2021 summer batch information session of the IF Research Lab, and my name is Samuel. So let me start with my background. These highlighted highlighted countries that I had a place to call home. You know, like there are a couple countries out there. The reason I'm showing this picture, like pretty much every time I had a chance to, give a talk or give a presentation, I always like to show this picture because, most of the time, I could, cover 90% of attendees of a talk or a presentation or a seminar. They feel like over 90% of attendees will feel like, oh, this guy is from my home country. I had a place in China and India. Of course, I live in U.S., but I used to live in Europe as well. So, you are my like friends in home country. So feel free to call me friend. Well, this is just like a brief icebreaker. Basically, I am an AI scientist. So I did my PhD back in USC, and I did my master and bachelor Yonsei University back in Seoul, Korea. And I have founded a couple startups, and I also affiliated with the couple like academic fields, including universities and research institute. Well, if you're interested in me, please feel free to check out my linked website here in the QR code, and also like Google Scholar to see the list of my publications. Basically, my AI research interest is in understanding human behaviors and human perception. That's my main research goal. I like teaching. Like teaching has been, like my entire life habits. I mean, like my hobby. I just simply love teaching. I'm not 100% sure how good teacher I am, but let me share a little story. So some of you have known me like quite a time, but I haven't known a lady over 30 years. I think almost 30 years, right? Since I was like middle school student. And I gave, we were good friends since then. And I was teaching her when she was in high school. Of course, I was in a college, and I was teaching her as a private tutor. What do we call it? We called it choir back in Korea. And after 20 some years, she became a mother to a son who is in middle school. and she's here today with us. Try to ask me, to teach her son as well. So I just think it's awesome example. Like I love this story. Like two generations in a row I've been teaching. I've been tutoring. It indicates two things actually. One is, well, I'm not a bad student. I'm not sorry. I'm not a bad teacher at all. Like two generations in a row. So I kind of feel happy that I am validated teacher. And second aspect of this story is I'm pretty old. Like teach teach after two decades I'm still teaching. So that indicates that I'm still old. Well, that's just a little icebreaker too. So let me just jump in without further ado. So today we're going to talk about like AI. Then before we go into too much detail, we have to cover, what is AI? There are so many different definitions out there. I don't want to add any complication on top of it. So my simple definition of the AI is a new tool in this digital age. Think about fire in the Stone Age or electricity in 20th century. They were a new tool back in Stone Age or 20th century. Now we have a new tool called artificial intelligence. But like you don't need to know how fire works to use the fire, or you don't need to understand how like power plants work to use appliances that uses electricity. You don't need to know. You just use it. It's just tool. If so, why do you have to study AI? You know, even if you can still use it without knowing how what's the fundamental theory behind it, why do you study it? The question is, why study AI? The answers are in twofold. The first reason is this tool has not been completed yet. It has not been developed fully yet. It's still developing, and like a lot of improvement is still needed. So there is a lot of opportunities out there to improve the AI, to develop further this tool for many people to use it. So there are a lot of opportunities out there. And second reason is this is an emerging tool that every single field try to use it. It doesn't matter even if you go to the medical domain, so that you become a doctor, or pharmaceutical companies, or natural science, or even if you go to like business, economics, art industry, like entertainment industry, it doesn't matter. You will use AI as a tool. I'm pretty sure. So even like recently, I read an article about AI in cosmology. You know, like even in cosmology field, they use AI. So we should learn how to use it. What is it? To utilize it properly. So that's why we should study AI. So our goal here in this IF lab, our mission is to raise the new generation of an AI scientist and AI developers and AI entrepreneurs. Well, in terms of AI scientists, you will publish academic papers that proposes novel algorithms and genuine findings. I want you to do it. Publish the papers. And also developers, you can participate in solving real world problems, not just textbook problems. You can solve like real world problems. It includes the joining world class competitions. There are a lot of competitions out there, and some competitions have a reward with a cash value. Like some competitions, they provide like $1 million to the winners. Well, I don't want you to win it, but we can participate those competition to grow, right? And I also want that, like we want to raise entrepreneurs. so that we can productize or launch softwares, not just for making money, but it transforms our daily lives. So I want you to be a entrepreneur. So that's our mission. Having said that, how are we gonna achieve it? You know, like how we gonna raise the next generation of AI experts? So we have our DNA. We have our values. So I call it 3CS, 3Cs. So these are the values that I take emphasis on it. So 3Cs: creative works, collaborative process, and critical thinking. The first is creative works. Coding is one of a creative works. I really like this analogy. Um, you know, say if you wanted to write a poem, let's say, what do you need to write a poem? Language, of course. You need to know the language to write a poem. You should have a big vocabulary, and you should know like grammar and syntax. But think about like the other way around. Just knowing the words and syntax and grammar, that doesn't make you a poet, right? That doesn't make you write the poem. You should know what poem is like, and then you should build your own poem to become a poet, right? So it takes a time to write a poem while you're learning the language. Likewise, it takes time to be an AI scientist on top of your coding skills. So there are a lot of advertisements out there, like they saying, oh, you can be an AI scientist like during this summer camp, like 3 weeks summer camp, you will be an AI scientist. I don't want you to be deceived by those like slogans. Let's say short, intensive courses you will make. They will make you an AI scientist. I don't think it's a true. Maybe there are some like genius, that I can't think of, but in general, the process is not that fast. Endurance comes together. And then one of the myths in computer science is you work by yourself. You work alone. I don't think that's true neither. Computer science or developing software is a very collaborative process. So I really take emphasis on this collaborative process. So in this ETH lab, you're gonna learn CS through this collaborative process. And the last but not least, of course, it will reinforce your critical thinking. I want you to learn how to solve the given problems. It cannot be reinforced by copy and paste the pre-existing code. I'm not saying that's a bad thing, but it doesn't help you grow in learning computer science. So these 3 values: creative works, collaborative process, and critical thinking. That's the core values of this research lab. So how are we gonna learn? So we're gonna learn with the self-motivation. We will provide different lectures, but those lectures will be self-paced courses at your own speed. We'll discuss more detail how it works, but it's basically self-paced and at your own speed. And I don't want to push you like you should do this. You should motivate yourself, by doing what you aspire to do. So that's how we learn with the self-motivation. And we also want you to learn by actually doing, not looking at it, just doing it with your hands. Get your hands dirty. So trial error is not something you have to avoid. Trial error is a very essential part of this learning procedure. So by actually doing that, your hands will remember what you have done, what you have learned, even after you completely forget it, right? So this is one of the way we pursue. And the other one is we learn through the presentations. What do you mean by this? What we mean by this is we share our impressive progress and findings with your peers and your mentors and all that. Not just presentation, not just giving presentation, but listening to the presentation and giving the feedback or feeding, I call it feed forward with your mentors and peers. Um, I was in the grad school, and like first semester at the grad school, I was pretty novice. I didn't know anything, and I participated at a meeting, like this with the professor, and then like fourth year of a graduate doctor students were there, and I had no clue what the fourth year doctor, like he was saying. He he was saying something I had no idea what he was talking about. But one thing I took from that meeting was, oh, that guy's so amazing. I want to be like that. I want to be like him. You know what happened after 6 months? I was adding some comments to his presentation. So I learned a lot through that process. So I want this thing implemented in our lab as well. So I mean, it's the same thing basically. We learn from each other. We will have a weekly team meetings and quarterly colloquiums and biannual demo days, and we also have a part regular lectures and special seminars on all that. But remember, we're just not teaching. We will not just give you a lecture. Everyone is everyone's TA. Everyone will be everyone's TA. So help each other and teach each other and learn from each other. That's how we're gonna learn AI in this lab. And as I mentioned earlier, like we will learn from the real problems, not just the text problems, not just the simple problems, but we will learn from the real problems so that we can contribute for our society as well. And then the problem with the real problem is, we don't know what we don't know, right? So there are so many unknowns out there. We don't know what the unknowns are. So we dare to solve equations with the unknown unknowns. That's how we're gonna learn in this lab. And also we try to learn state of the art platforms. It means it's not just this toy project. Well, of course we will learn from some toy project, but as we wrestle with the real problems, we might need humongous computing powers and like cutting edge like tools and methods and algorithms and all that. But we will provide Amazon Web Service and a Google Cloud Service, those services, so that you can easily access those computing powers and all that. So you will work in a very, very professional environment. So that was the slides that I pitched, like how we're gonna learn. And as I was preparing the slides and like the presentation, many people actually asked me, so what is your curriculum? So that was, I think that is very valid question. What is your curriculum? What are you gonna learn if I join your lab? So I was like, curriculum, that's a good question. But I was also thinking that like everyone is different. Like someone likes to build an AI model, and someone likes to write a paper, and someone likes to participate in competition, and someone likes to start his own startup. Everyone is different. How can you impose something that is not interested in by someone else, right? So we provide guidance rather than imposition, right? Instead of imposing something, like forced to doing something, we guide to achieve his or her own imagination. So we provide personalized curriculum based on the interest and ability. To do that, we have to go through like interviews and like we have to discuss a lot. We have to communicate a lot. But based on the communication and then achievement and all that, we're gonna adjust. We're gonna adjust the curriculum, um, person by person. So at the end of the day, everyone, every single one, will have his or her own optimized curriculum. So we have a selective course tracks, different course tracks. Um, yeah, of course, there are certain things that you have to learn, you have to practice, no question. For example, like basic coding, even if you don't if you don't have any previous experience, you have to learn. No other choice. Base coding and some like intermediate coding level, you have to learn. But after that, some will take this course like machine learning and advanced machine learning, applied machine learning, and then finally you develop it. And like sometimes it requires a mathematics like linear algebra and calculus. You have to do it, right? But you don't have to do it unless you are interested in it. Unless you want to like write a paper or like advance it, making a new model. It's not necessary. So it's a very like selective courses. And some people maybe like want to code like more deeply, like so that you can make a games or you can make a applications, web app, those things, and then you can take this track, like the bottom track. Of course, this is very flexible, and as I told you already, we're gonna discuss a lot and we're gonna optimize it for you. So like how we're gonna structure our lab is, well, we have a woven structured groups, woven structured teams, let's say. And you know there are many people ask me, how are you gonna like model it. So the way we do it is, we actually classify students in different levels. I have a typo there, skill level. No, it's just skill level. Based on their skill level, we have different lectures. As seen in the previous slide, we have different lectures. But at the same time, we have teams with a different skill level, so that we can communicate like across the different levels. Maybe this picture is a little complicated, so I'll have another example. Let's say there is a guy. His name is John Doe, and maybe he has his own like interest, and also he has his own like ability. Probably he has been done like 6 months coding already. Like he can do like hello world type of thing already. So the way we do group this John Doe is, the first, there may be some peers that has a same skill level, that like probably like from 4 months to 1 year, like pretty much the same level skill set. Then we're gonna group them into the peers in with respect to the lectures. They're gonna do the lectures together, so that they can do together, like with a very similar skill level, and also some other folks too. We group them into team, so that they can be a peers in team. They have a different level set, so you know just this John Doe can learn from more seniors, and then he can also be able to teach the juniors, right? This is a very good opportunity that you learn from the seniors, and also you teach. Um, Basically, you will be a TA for those juniors. So this is a structure that we have. Okay, that's how we're gonna form the groups and teams. And so far so abstract. So I'm gonna give you like some examples of what we're gonna do in real like project. And I added some like stars, five level stars, to represent the how challenging those projects are. So maybe the first thing can be like home value prediction based on house attributes. Basically, we're gonna make Redfin or Zillow type of a home value prediction um, as a project. So this is pretty easy one. Once you start the machine learning one, then you will do this kind of a project. And also handwritten digit recognition. This is also pretty easy. Like when you write, and the computer will recognize what kind of digit is this. These days, like all the banks has a the check deposit system. Well, it can be used in that way as well. So this is also very fairly easy project. And the next one we can do like sign language classification. What does these pictures, like pictures of sign language, you can classify. Oh, okay, this is to represent A or B or C. Those like sign languages. We can build this product as well. And Emojifier, when you type like short messages, it can suggest like appropriate emojis based on the text that you just texted in. So, this can be like pretty fun project. Or I think this is a very good example that you make an actual app and then like post it to the app store, then you can actually sell, or like freely distribute. I don't know, it's up to you, but this can be a really fun project. And object detection, well, these days, like everyone talks about like autonomous driving cars and etc. So object detection can be fun project as well. This can be a little tricky, but it's not like not crazily difficult. So we can simply try it. And also like you can do the face recognition, so that like computer will recognize who this guy is. And also like speech recognition. Actually, this is my main part. Like I have studied this area for close to 20 years, so this is my expert area. But we can also try to do speech recognition as well. And have you known that like AI can also do the fine art? You know, even if like you didn't know, there are a lot of researches out there, for AI can draw actually. Well, this picture, reminds of a Gogh, but like Gogh never drawn this before, but computer actually transform pictures into like Gogh's like his style. So we can have fun with this too. Same thing for the music. Like these days, like AI plays a pretty important role in music. So I heard that there is a AI singer just debuted like a couple of weeks ago, and it's a pretty big hit. So we can also like try to do this thing. This is fun project. But those are just an examples. Just they were just examples. I don't want you to do this thing unless you wanted to do. Rather, bring your own imagination, bring your own idea. Let's work on it. Let's make it. Let's make it happen. You know, so that we can have a fun, as well as we learn. Right? We learn by doing things that we like. So that's the whole motto of this lab. So that's pretty much it. So I'm gonna cover a little bit about like logistics, how we gonna manage this lab. So we do have a membership batches system. It is like a semester, school semester type of thing. A group of students will start together, just like a school semester. It's not like any other private academy that I applied it and next day you can join. No, I can't do this thing. So so it's gonna be the batch system. Like a group of students will start together, and each batch, like we set up only a few teams, only like couple, like maximum 2 or 3. Only a few teams, and each team will have a 4 or 5 members, and then we carefully review the applications, like and interviews and all that, and we carefully assign the applicants to the groups accordingly. And then we launch a batch every quarter. We try to do launch every quarter, but it really depends on like demand and availability. Um, so that's that, and we're gonna do the interview again. Like to facilitate the students in the appropriate groups and appropriate lectures and all that. One thing I have to mention is the seats are very limited. Like I am the only director. I am the only mentor here. So, like I will accept only up to I can handle. So the seats are very limited. So some applicants have to remain in the waiting list, unfortunately, and probably defer till the next available batch launch. So that's one thing I have to mention. And this is a membership based. This lab has a membership, so there are a lot of benefits I can write. Like you will be given a email, not just a simple email, but the lab email, like ifresearchlab.com or sam at ifresearch.com, whatever. And then we communicate through the channel, and then we also have a Slack channel, so that we can 24/7 pretty much. So you can ask any questions on Slack anytime you want, and then I can of course answer, but some other students who already have done it can answer as well. And then we'll provide the Amazon Web Service or Google Cloud as you need it. As long as you don't abuse it. Like we can provide as long as as much as you want. And also we'll have a GitHub and GitLab. Those are storage space that you can share your outcomes, your software, so that we can share, right? So that's that. And then we can also participate at Kaggle, which is a lot of competitions is going on, and we can also publish paper archive or IEEE even. Like I am personally, let me delete this thing so that you can see better. IEEE, I'm personally targeting IEEE, but the bar is pretty high, so let's see how it goes. And there are of course benefits, but there are also like requirements. You have to be seventh grade to join this lab. I was thinking like we can lower the bar, but like, there are certain requirements, particularly mathematics. I was trying to teach a couple like sixth grade kids, but it didn't work out because they have a lack of understanding in like mathematics particularly. So at least seventh grade, and it's very good to have a coding experience, but it's not required. We can learn together, right? And I think that the most important thing is you have to work, you have to study, you have to spend at least 4 more hours, 4 hours, at least 4 hours per week on research, on doing your thing. Research means studying and coding and practicing all that. You have to spend at least 4 hours to keep up with the like our research plan and course tracks and all that. And there is a mandatory 1 hour per week team meeting. Team means like I explained already, but there is a 1 hour mandatory team meeting, and there is also like optional one-on-one meeting with me for now, like up to like 30 minutes per week. So that's an optional, but strongly recommended. And also like we're gonna open up a couple to several lectures every time. So participate those regular lectures and special seminars. We will have guest speakers from industry or academic field or wherever else. We're gonna have a special seminars, but members are required to participate diligently. That's the requirement. And okay, so next batch, the application registration fee is $70, and then this is a monthly membership system that I already described. So it doesn't matter how many classes you're taking. You can take up to, like, all classes that you want, all classes that it's already open. But it doesn't matter how many classes you have and how many hours you spend, or, well, just take advantage of this membership as long as you don't abuse it. Like, this is a membership strategy. So monthly membership fee is $350. Um, I have to mention this, I think. Do I have a time? Yeah. Initially, and I still think that we have to establish in a non-profit organization. But there are a couple, like, problems in non-profit, setting up the non-profit organization. We have to recruit the board members, etc. So things may not work well. We may not able to register as a non-profit organization, but the philosophy still remains. Um, if I were to make money out of this, I shouldn't have done this. Like, I should have a, like, formula differently. For example, like, I hire, like, college kid to teach the elementary kid, or middle school kids, or high school kids. I just hire a bunch of a college kid as a teacher, and then I just direct them how to teach it. This will be a lot easier for me. But my passion is something different. My passion is, like, I want personal relationship with my peer scholars. I call them scholars, not just a student. Like, peer scholars, to engage more deeply in AI field. So the philosophy, even if we failed in registering as a non-profit organization, the philosophy still remains the same. So yeah, that's the whole story behind it. And then coming back to the next batch. So starting date of the next batch is July 1st, and then application deadline is next week. Today is June 5th, and the application deadline is June 13th. The reason that we have like almost 3 weeks of a review time is 2 weeks actually. Is I have to interview individual students, so that how we gonna form the teams, and how we're gonna open up the lectures, what kind of lectures we should open. I have to organize it. So that's why we have that kind of two weeks of a time, and the application site is already open. After this webinar, you can just go ahead and like, go to the application site, just apply for it, and we'll review. We'll get back to you. What's the next step, and then we're gonna do the accept. We're gonna notify you with the acceptance or rejection by June 24th, so that you can also prepare the batch. All right, I think this is it, and let me conclude it with an embarrassing picture of myself. Right, this is the picture that I think I was like 4th grade or 5th grade. I was playing violin in front of many people. I don't know who they were, but I just remember it. The reason that I'm showing this picture to you, with like, although it's kind of embarrassing, is that to ask you a question. The question is, was I good enough to show off back then? Unless I am a genius, the music quality cannot be tolerant, right? You cannot appreciate it, what I play. It is not comparable to the professional musicians, right? It cannot be, simply because I was not that good. But like, the audience was still listening to me, listening to my playing. Why? Because they know me, and I was part of the neighborhood, part of the family. That's the reason they listen to me. What I think this lab will do is to provide the same opportunity to you, there are a lot of piano lessons out there, like, and like whatever you call it, art, of course. They do recitals every year, but I don't see any research recital, right? So I want to do something like this so that we can grow and you can learn how to do the research. And how do you grow your skills in computer science? How do you learn AI and how you apply AI in your real life? And it might help in your future career. So that was the webinar. Thank you, and I'll take questions. If you have a question, just please raise your hand, and I will unmute it, so that you can simply ask. Any question? No question means, I'm an excellent presenter. Just prove me wrong. Okay, there is one question. Says, how long is the whole course? Yes, that's a very good question. So how long is the course? It really depends. To be honest, it really depends. I had a student who's pretty smart, and I think he's the one of the most like brilliant students that I have had, and it took him 2 years, not 2 months, 2 years to get to finish the machine learning, the first course. And what he did is a handwriting recognition and the home value prediction. So it's not short. It's gonna take long. Hold your breath. The endurance is needed. So the answer is, it really depends. If you're smart enough and you're motivated enough, then it may take 2 years or 3 years. And if you're not like too motivated, it may take forever. So I don't want that. So I will help you to be motivated. So let's say to build a AI model, probably 3 years, 2 years or 3 years. I think that's the minimum. Next question is, hopefully it answers your question. How long the semester is going to be? I said it's a semester, but it's not really semester, because it's more like a batch. So you have a starting date, but no ending date, right? So you keep going. There is no ending date, unless the ending date is you think, oh, I'm done with this. Either I don't like it, or I'm done. I finished my milestones. Hopefully it answers your question. Any other question? Okay, I have a raised hand. You can talk. Oh, the next question is, hold on a second. Okay, the next question is, if my child loses interest, what do I do, and what will you do? That's a tough question. The first thing we can try, if your child loses interest, we try to motivate him or her. Like, show some fascinating, interesting examples, and then help like him or her to be more interested in it. But there is no, like, how do I say? As I mentioned earlier, maybe this hurts me in doing business. But as I briefly introduced the AI as a tool, you know, you don't have to understand AI to use it, right? So just using it is fine. To join this lab is to you do want to do something very interesting, and you want to contribute to the AI society, AI technology. That's the whole motivation. So if you want to, like, if you don't want to contribute, or you're not interested in academic or developing tools or whatever, it's absolutely fine. You know, nothing significant. It's not the end of the life, right? So maybe you can just let it go. The next question is, will all the meetings lecture be given via online? Yes, for now. For now, yes. Will Like, all the meetings and lectures will be given online. But as this COVID thing resolves, we have to have a in-person meetings, of course. I personally believe an in-person meeting a lot felt like more efficient in many ways. But we don't have an office. But like, I have a pretty nice office home. So, but I have to ask my wife first. But we can open it up for the regular on-site meetings. Okay, and another question is, how long will it take to reach the game development stage if I want to take it? Also, are there any system requirements for the computers will be used? Okay, that's a very good question. So game development stage, 6 months, I think, estimate. Game development, well, of course, like, it really depends on what kind of game you want to make. But there are free game development, like, tools out there. So if you know, like, basic coding, then may take like 6 months to get there, and start very basic games in 6 months. I think that's a good estimate. And what other system requirement for the computer will use? That's a very good question. So that's why I propose you to use the cloud services. We're gonna provide the cloud services, Google or Amazon AWS, so that you don't worry about your own computer. Everything will be done on the servers. So probably your computer needs good enough to access the servers. So most of computers do it, I guess. So you don't have to worry about it. So that, I think that's one of our selling points, to provide the cloud computing services. But yeah, that's it. Any other questions? Yeah, there are many open-ended questions here. Like, because this is pretty much very, very new concept. Like, instead of a giving just like lectures, and then let the students copy and paste the students teachers, or codes that are already exist, copy and paste or whatever. you know we'll not do it. We'll definitely not do it. Of course, like, we'll do some to learn, like, very, very basic, but that's not our goal. Our goal is go beyond it. So, okay, another question. I wonder if it is possible to having a group project. Also, it is one of the students can develop more than one project at the same time. The first question is it possible to having a group project? Yes. As I mentioned during the talk, bring up the idea. Or I can think of any, like, I can think of the idea too. But in general, our value is pretty much on the collaborative process, right? So everyone can do their own thing and build a product. That's that's recommended. That's very, very strongly recommended. And second question is one student can develop more than one project, of course, at the same time. Yes. It really depends on how much time you willing to spend. Maybe like, 4 hours, as I said, that's minimum. But, if you're willing to spend more time, yeah, you'll definitely be able to do it. Oh, question. Thank you for the answers. Yes, thank you. And is there a test my child must take to enter your program? No, there is no test, but I will do the interview. So it's not just test, but like I will ask a couple questions. Like what do you want to do with this AI? Um, like what are your coding skills level, all those things. So we'll just do the Zoom interview or Hangout interview with the students. So it's not test, it's more like an interview. Any other questions? By the way, this session is recorded, so I will post to the YouTube, so you can watch it again if you like to see me again. The next question is, when is the start day of the interviews? Yeah, once you apply, we'll we'll coordinate the schedule together. There is no fixed date or time. We'll coordinate. It may take like a half an hour, or or we can spend more time, like 1 hour, whatever. It really depends. Any other question? Yeah, regarding the question about like how long does it take, I'll add some. I've been playing piano for quite a time, and it's skill. Of course, there are some aspects you can enjoy, but it's skill. You can't play Beethoven from at first month or so, right? You have to practice a lot. You have to um, put a lot of effort, and like basically you need to sweat, right? So I think it's the same thing applies to AI or computer science and all that. The next question is, are you comfortable talking with teenagers? That's a good question. Well, I don't know. My daughter is not teenager yet. Like she's 11 and a half, and I don't have any problem with her yet, at least from my perspective. And as I said earlier, I've been teaching quite a time, and uh, and I think I'm a kind of validated teacher. I don't know. So going back to the question, comfortable with the talking to the teenagers. With the good students, yes, of course. But bad students, I don't know. I have to see. Sorry for the open-ended answer. Oh, so next question is, where's the application link? The same page that you registered at the um, the the website. But I will send you. You guys are all registered through your email, so I'm gonna send out the application link in the email. going back to the teenager question, probably this is a good research question. I have to study. How do I communicate with the teenagers? Next question, is there a specific textbook we need to buy for learning programs? There might be. There might be. It really depends on what kind of, lessons or what kind of lectures you're taking. If you are taking just very basic coding, I don't think you need to buy anything. But if you want to the advanced ones, of course you will buy some. But like I will guide through. I will walk. I'll walk with you along the line till the end. So we have 2 more minutes for this webinar. We can extend, of course, but maybe a couple more questions. I think I can spend like 4 hours here. I like to, but as long as you have a question, agenda to talk about. All right. I'll wait half minutes probably, and then call it a day. All right. Unless you have a further question, I think we're done. Uh, as I said earlier, well, I will send you a application link, and I hope you can join. We can meet at the first batch of this IF research lab. Even if not you're not joining, I wish all the best on your career, and good luck. All right, take care. Bye guys. Thank you so much for attending. You can leave now.